Hi, everybody. Hassan Shariq. I'm really sorry. There was some tech issue, and not being a tech person, I was caught up into it. Welcome all. I see quite a few questions already. The idea today was to have a slightly shorter session because I have to run and watch a game of football. So I'll keep it to the questions. Just a few updates. I uploaded a few videos where I've mentioned that some updates have happened, wherein IRCC has opened up processing of some applications. They've confirmed that permanent residence applications and all these applications are under process and they're not put at a halt. So that's a positive news. Paper applications, not right now. The opening of Canadian visa application centers also means that there is going to be more processing. So those are some of the positives that we have. And now let's move on to the specific questions that you guys have. So starting off, Mahnoor Muhammad, hi there. Hi, Mahnoor says, I want to know if I can switch to diploma program after graduation, and how can I get postgraduate work permit after I complete my ACCA in Canada? I'm from Pakistan. Manur, I'm not sure if you will be doing your ACCA in Canada. You only get the postgraduate work permit if you are awarded a degree in Canada. ACCA in itself will not be considered for that, most likely, because ACCA is not awarded by Canadian institutions. It's actually by the Association of Certified Chartered Accountants in Canada, in UK. But if you are getting a degree, diploma, certificate awarded by a Canadian institution, then for the duration of the time that particular degree, diploma, certificate is, and it also has to be at least 8 months, you will be able to get a postgraduate work permit. And the second piece was, I want to know if I can switch to diploma program after graduation. For sure, you can definitely do. It's your choice. A lot of people have even bachelor's degrees or master's degree, and then they want to do a diploma, which is more specific to probably the career that they've had. You could do that. It's just that if you need to apply for a visa for that, you will have to justify that why you're doing that. So that can be done. I hope I have answered that. Muhammad Ozi, hi Shariq, hi Ozi. Is there something that Canadian immigration don't deduct age numbers because of Corona? My wife is main applicant of FSW. She is going to be 32 in December. How many points are we going to lose from 478? No, all requirements, all policies that were there still stay. That is why if you see that for all those applicants who are supposed to provide biometrics or medical submissions as part of their application, even when these centers are closed and now the 90-day extension that was allowed to them, many of them have surpassed that time period as well. It's not that Canadian immigration is waiving off these requirements. So no requirements will be waived off. Age, it will still be counted just as it was counted previously. And if till December the same situation persists, you will lose points. In terms of how much points you lose, so it's usually 4 to 5 points. If she is 31 right now, she would be getting basically 90 points or 99 points, depending if it is with spouse or without spouse application, and there will be a loss of 5 points from 31 to 32. So that is the loss. So from 478, it will drop down to 5.473. Yeah. Okay. Hi, Shariq. How are you? I'm good, and I'm hoping the same for you. Now that visitor visas are being processed, can we see an all program draw this Wednesday? Not so quickly. the visitor visa applications are going to be processed, but then they are going to be processed again um, based on a case-to-case basis. So see, not all Canadian visa application centers are open. So it is only a limited number of places from where these visitor visa applications can be submitted and will be processed. FSW again, and I've repeated this quite a lot of times, and I'm re-emphasizing it again. It's not with visitor visa. There aren't that many requirements. Documents are only a few. With permanent residence applications, they have to do a lot of scrutiny. There's security clearances and whatnot, the medical and all that. With a lot of countries still under lockdown, uh, how is it a wise thing that they invite people from all these major source countries, and then those applicants are not able to provide their documentation? So opening up of Canadian visa processing is one piece, and then the opening up of business within these source countries is another piece that we have to wait and see. So as of now, right now, see, India is one of the biggest contributors towards this skilled migration processing of Canada. Now, if they open up FSW draw and there's like 500, 600, 700 people from within India who get invitations, it will be very difficult to source all those documents at this stage. Same is the case with Pakistan. Same is the case with other major source countries like Middle East. Things are opening up, but there's a Vietnam has sort of opened up, but parts of Africa, South Korea, China. So not this Wednesday. My own, and I've given this opinion, and this is my own opinion based on how things are, that most likely July might not see an FSW draw. If it happens, it might only be at the end of July. Muhammad Ozi, where are you? I'm really sorry because of the whole technology issue. It got a little delayed. Hi, Sachin from India. My wife is a main applicant. Currently, we stand at 447 CRS score. FSW, should we keep hope of FSW CRS score going down to 446 till March 21? Because after that, she will be 33. 446, 447. Very honestly speaking, I don't feel, and that's my assessment. I wish I'd be wrong on that, and many people get their chances under FSWP. But my opinion is that it is not going to drop into 440s, as you mentioned. There will be a drop in CRS score once FSW people are invited. We will see that drop in about 2 to 3 draws from the first FSW draw. But what I believe that the CRS drop might be, it'll go to 460s and it might get into 450s. But anything below that will have to be seen later on once we have a few FSW draws. Never lose hope in terms of Canadian immigration or immigration for anywhere like Australia. It is always in cycles. Keep in mind, it is always in cycles. Who would have thought about this whole COVID situation coming up and even CEC scores going down to 430s and 20s? So if you look at the scores in last 4 years, 5 years since the time that Express Entry was introduced, it has had its waves. And that's how it is. Sometimes programs open up, sometimes they close, the number of people applying from a different country. So it is always in cycles. 447 is a very good score. For a lot of times, people well below this score were being invited. So if it drops in few months' time, who can say about that? Looking at it right now, how the situation is, I do not feel that because of the COVID situation and based on the CS distribution right now, that it will drop down to 440s. My own take is 460s for sure, and 450s, maybe late 50s. But stay positive till March next year. There's a lot of time. You never know how it shapes up. Muhammad Ozi's question, FSW, you have been asking this. I have been telling you it will take time. I don't expect it to happen in the month of July. Navpreet, hi sir, is it possible to pursue with a province, New Brunswick, for nomination in EE if you have your blood relation there on PR? What could be the model of perusal and chances of succeeding? Well, provincial nominations are there. I've done a few videos on that as well. Probably we can do a live session where I'll only talk about some of the provincial nominations. With provincial nominations, keep in mind that you have to do a lot of research. Right now, not many provinces are open to applicants who are outside of Canada. A lot of provinces require you to have a job offer. The reason is that there's a lot of international graduates who have moved to Canada, excuse me, in last few years, and have got the postgraduate work permit now. So provinces are actually looking at trying to attract a maximum number out of them. So that's why people without a job offer do not have many options. With New Brunswick, it's a small province. It doesn't really invite so many people. You can definitely submit your expression of interest, and that is something that I keep telling my clients and generally people who ask me. With provincial nominations, a lot of times the bigger provinces, they do have sort of streamlined processes where you can predict. But with many of the small provinces, you have to take your chance. Get your ECA done, get your IELTS done, create your express entry profile, and submit your expression of interest for the relevant province. And that's all that you can do. And then wait and see that if there is a draw. So we saw Nova Scotia inviting people at the end of 2019. Nobody had expected. Marketing specialists were invited in that. So, only those people who were part of the pool, who had their expression of interest submitted, only they could benefit out of it. So if you wait to see a draw happening for a province, for a small province like New Brunswick or Nova Scotia, it might be the only or one of the only draws within that year. So you wait for that draw to happen without taking your own necessary actions, and you miss the ride. So in New Brunswick, not too many people, not too many invitations that they do for offshore applicants. Get done with your definitely, if you have a relative in that, some of the smaller provinces do give preference, because see, what happens is that, and this has happened in the past, where people had a provincial nomination by provinces, the smaller provinces. They moved in there, and then after that, they moved out of the province. So province doesn't really want that. They want people to move to the province based on the PNP and then stay there. If you have a relative in the province, that's why the provinces actually, the smaller provinces have started attracting people who have some connection to the province. So if you have a relative, and if it is a close relative, so see, if you move to that particular province and you stay there for about 2 years, likelihood is that you're going to stay over there, because you will have your relative there. By the time it is 2 years, you would have had your job or whatever career you're doing. You would have your house and everything, family settled. The chances of moving out might not be all that high. So if you have a blood relative, definitely submit your expression of interest for the province. Alexander, hi Shariq, what's your prediction for the next CS draw? Will FSW participate? Alexander, FSW, My opinion, not right now, as I've mentioned, probably not in July as well. It might only be um, after July. If it is July, probably end of July. In terms of the CRS, FSW, not a likelihood, but if it happens, FSW might be somewhere around 470s, based on. And I have done a video. You could have a look at the CRS prediction based on the last draw and the CRS distribution of the pool at that time. We are already good about 8 to 10 days past that time. So now the composition of the pool might be very different. People coming in and moving out. So I can't really predict as it will be right now or today. When I looked at it about 8 to 10 days ago, it clearly seemed that the number of people who've moved in between 450 to 500 was only about 190 people. So that increase wasn't huge. If it is a CEC draw, I expect and if the number is same, like about 3,900, 4,000 between CEC and PNP, the CEC score will definitely drop another 3 to 5 CRS points. If we get to see if an FSW or inclusive draw, in that case, the CRS would be around 470, which will not be good news for many FSW as well as CEC, because then CEC lose their chance. But most likely, we will have at least about 2 more CEC only draws. Hope that answers your question. The Real King, what's about work permit? Are you dealing work permit? How can we avail it? Tell me about cost. Okay, so I must clarify that a lot of people ask this question about work permit. As a regulated Canadian immigration consultant, I'm authorized to provide advising and representation for all kinds of Canadian immigration processes. And I myself and my firm, we do deal with work permits, but we do not provide any kind of assistance in arranging a job offer. Not at all. So if you have a job offer, we can process your work permit. So we process work permit applications. Employers, if you have an employer and the employer would like to proceed with the required application for LMIA and all that, we can definitely do that. We do not provide any service in terms of arranged employment. That is absolutely not something that we can help with. So if your question was about arranged employment, I'm really sorry. This was the Real King. If it was about work permit application processing, definitely we can do that. You're asking, tell me about the cost. So you can send an email to us, and we can tell you what will be the cost for processing a work permit. And then LMIA, we're not into the job offer thing, because that's a lot of it is at times scam, and there's a lot of fraud as well. Tanveer, any chance FSWP starting this week? No, I don't feel. Mani Judge, sir, can I apply in post-graduation certificate instead masters? It will affect visa through SDS or not? See, a lot of people say that if I can apply for this program or not. You can apply for a program. It is your choice. It is nobody else's choice as to what you want to study. So if you've done a master's, you can still apply for a certificate. You can still apply for another master's, for a diploma. It is completely your choice. It is only that you have to build a case. And why are you doing that? Because the visa officer has to assess your application on a few bases. One of the bases is that they will look that are you a genuine study permit applicant, in terms of is your intention genuine? Like, are you coming? Are you planning to move to come to Canada for study only, or is it for a different motive or objective? Now, if your application convinces an officer that you already have a master's, but you're applying for a certificate now, but then there is some sense, maybe you've been working in an industry and now you want to do a specific certificate or a diploma in project management, it's all fine. So definitely you can apply, but it has to be reviewed in a context. Your background, your career, why are you picking the certificate or diploma? A lot of things have to be looked at. Simple answer to that: yes, you can apply. There's absolutely no bar in that. More specific, more pertinent answer to that is a lot of things have to be looked at. If you are just using that as a way to get into Canada at a little less cost, without having a proper reasoning, then it might increase your chances of a visa rejection. And I think you also mentioned instant master, it will affect visa through SDS or not. SDS is not a guaranteed visa stream. In both visa streams, the assessment is to be done on similar basis. With SDS, at least visa officer has some confidence in like one or two aspects. Number one, you have already made the fee payment for 1 year. The cost of living in form of GIC. So, financially now they're a little more confident that, okay, in terms of finances, you've already provided these finances to the institution and transferred the $10,000 into Canada. So, a little more confidence in terms of finances. IELTS is a mandatory requirement, so you must have a 6 score in each of the modules. So that again gives a little more confidence that yes, in terms of language ability, you have a good standing and you'll be able to cope with studies in Canada. And that's about it. Other than that, all other assessment criteria, they stand as they are for the normal stream as well. So, it's not that with SDS you have a confirmation that you will be granted a visa, and anything which can negatively impact your application in the normal stream can impact it in SDS as well. Moving on, Ajay. Hi, Ajay. Ajay is a regular with these live sessions and the questions. In EE travel history, do I mention work permit, study permit separately, or could merge together to add one single period of work and study in travel history section of EE? Ajay, I've mentioned this is very case specific. I do not have all your details, but when it comes to travel history, you have to basically mention the travels that you've not done. So your work permit was not a travel. You were a resident. Same happens with the case in terms of study permit. But you do have to mention when did you leave a country, when did you move into a country, because that impacts the requirement for police certificates. So the entry and exit dates or the travels, that gives the indication as to what was the period that you were in a particular country and for how long. So it has to be looked into case specific details as to how these things were. You have to provide details of all the flights, if you want to call it, that you took for your travel. But if you were on a work permit, if you were on a study permit, you were actually a resident in that particular country. So now you have to provide police certificates for that particular place. Although if it is Canada, then you're not required. Moving on, Sobia, I want to visit my sister in Canada in March 2021. So there might be the chance that I won't have any problem and everything will go smoothly. In terms of if you're asking that by that time will we have the visa processing open, Most likely, as already mentioned, online visitor visa applications, they've been opened. If you're able to do your biometrics and stuff, that's fine. So hopefully by February, March, it shouldn't be an issue. In terms of the requirements for the visa processing and stuff, you have to provide all that, and then the case officer will assess. But most likely by Feb, March, things should be back to normalcy. We are already at 25 minutes, and another 5 minutes. Ajay, in E, how can we add IELTS study period? Can it be added in education activity or unemployed? Please help. Thank you. IELTS is not a study in itself, so you don't do that. You just attach it with your educational documents. Ravinder Singh, hi Shariq, I am on ICT closed work permit. Company is issuing me letter for visa renewal. Can I use this letter for getting 50 points of offer letter under CC? No, offer letter has to have an LMIA. We'll have to see if it is an LMIA exempt. In that case, then there is a possibility that yes, you could use it, but it has to be for most jobs it has to be LMIA approved. But if it is if there is already an LMIA, there can be exceptions to that. Vinay Mishra, please talk about federal trade workers draw when, because it is only 2 times in a year. Vinay, I've already mentioned this, and probably you asked this question in our last session as well. The federal trade worker draw isn't a regular one, and there are reasons for that, because the number is very small. The requirements are that you need to have a trade certification from within Canada or a job offer, and that number is not huge. To predict as to when will they do it is close to impossible. So I wouldn't really comment on anything that I have absolutely no clue. So it happens randomly a couple of times around the year. The real king, can we apply student visa without IELTS, meanwhile have a study gap? So what will pursue? You can definitely apply for a student visa without IELTS if it is a non-SDS. It depends from which country are you applying. Some of the countries, there is a local requirement of providing English proficiency. And so depending on the country, we have to look at the requirements set out by the processing office. But if you're applying in the non-SDS stream, then definitely there is the opportunity that you can apply for study permit without IELTS or a language test, as long as you get admission from the institution. But definitely, it's not as strong a case. The second part of your question was, meanwhile, have a study gap, or what will... Now, study gap is also something, it's not a technical term. Unfortunately, study gap is a term which is coined by a lot of these consultants out there in different parts of the world who have not studied Canadian immigration law, and they say study gap, study gap, study gap. What is a study gap? If you ask people, you will not have answers to that. Now, one gap is where you do a certain education, and then for next 2 years, you're absolutely doing nothing. We might call it a study gap. What if somebody did a bachelor's degree, a 4 years bachelor's degree, became an engineer and started working, and that person worked for next 8 years? They didn't require they were a licensed engineer wherever in the world they were working, and they kept working. There was never a need to do a master's degree. And now after 7 or 8 years, they want to have a break from work, have have another degree, because that might be required for their promotion now, or they just want to have a break and sort of polish their skills further. Now, would you consider that as a study gap? The person has been working for 7, 8 years in the professional field. No, that's not a study gap. And people will, as I said, that all these non-professional consultants out there, they would call it as a study gap. This is absolutely not a study gap. A study gap is where you were absolutely not doing anything. If you want to call anything as a study gap, you know, so it depends what kind of gap you have. If you've been doing something within the time frame between your last degree and the education that you want to pursue right now, it's not a gap. But if you've not been doing anything, then you have to justify. And that's where the submitting, study permit application, like any other Canadian visa or immigration application, is 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 a legal application. Again, you have to build a case. Anybody can upload documents, but it is building a case which will strengthen the case, and the chances of grant of visa will increase. Moving on, Ajay, in PR application, when I click on preview my score, it shoots up really high. Is it accurate, and do I need to worry about that, or can Ajay? These are very case specific questions. Unless I have these things in front of me, I can't really. I emphasize on this that I can talk about the policies and stuff, but so I don't know how your score shoots up. Where is that? I'm really sorry that I wouldn't be able to sort of comment on that. Moving on, Dream Canada, how much CEC draw could be more? I think you want to ask that how low it could go. So probably if it happens this time around, and we have between CEC and PNP about 3,900 to 4,000 people, another 3 to 4 people, another 3 to 5 CRS score dropping down. Ajay, thank you for answering my question. I always laugh when you say that this is very spy. I feel bad. No, you don't need to feel bad. You have the right to answer any question. It is just that, as a professional, there has to be a line, because this is client counsel advising, and I don't want to give any wrong advice. That's why I don't really comment on a lot of things that I'm not confirmed on. I'm not here to misguide anybody. Vinay, thanks. So I'll just take this as the last question, and this is Betsy. Any chances for FSW draw stream? Sejal, sorry if I'm pronouncing wrong. And I'll close the session on this. I've mentioned this FSWP. It was only IRCC who knows when that draw will happen, but my opinion, not in the month of July as well, looking at how the situation is in a few source countries. If it happens in July, probably at the end of the July, so people will have to wait. And that's all. That's all for today. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for supporting. I greatly appreciate your feedback, your comments on this video and other videos. Please share it with other folks as well, and subscribe to the channel and support me in that way. Till the next weekend, take care.